Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jay, and today I want to do a very special announcement introducing you to the very next part of the series of building a holistic life, and I'd like to call it Minimal Financials. In this series, I'll be introducing to you some of my money management strategies that I use on a day-to-day basis to make my life easier and to make managing my money a lot less stressful. I believe that this series is actually going to be most impactful for young adults, people just starting out in their careers, students, or even people who just make a lower income relative to the majority of people. All too often, people online either try to teach or preach about their money management strategies, but they leave out a lot of valuable information for the viewer to understand whether or not this information is relatable to them. They don't indicate whether or not they use these tips themselves. They don't indicate which income range a lot of these tips are actually functional for or realistic for, and they don't walk you through a step-by-step guide of how to implement these things in your life. So with this kind of video series, I'm hoping that I can change a lot, if not all of those things, and give you guys the most available, most attainable information and strategies that I possibly can. So in today's video, what I wanted to do was actually give you a little bit of my financial background, show you kind of where I come from and what I'm doing to make sure that you can relate to the information that I'm giving you. So this way, you'll actually be able to make sure that you can physically and emotionally adapt to these strategies to your life and make sure that these techniques are working for you. So as I've mentioned in the past, I grew up obsessed with money, and it's really because I saw it as a tool or as a means of obtaining freedom and security. I never wanted to be worried about the money. I didn't ever want to be stressed about money. I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable and I knew that at the end of the month, all of my needs would be fulfilled because of the income that I was generating. So a lot of people gave me a lot of crap growing up because I didn't wear designer clothes or I didn't have the fanciest new phone, and I wore hand-me-downs, and I was okay with that because it taught me that the true value of something is not indicated by the price that it costs to purchase. I learned that most of the time there were cheaper alternatives that not only just get the job done, but in some cases would actually do better than the name brand or the fancy expensive one. It also taught me that those people who would judge me or disregard me and my abilities because of the clothes that I wear or the price tag associated with my things were really people that I just didn't want to keep in my life. They're not positive. They didn't want to push me forward. They'd rather drag me down because of simple, ridiculous reasons that have no effect on my worth or abilities. So I felt like a good place to start is my education. Back in the day, we used to say that getting a better education would allow you to get a better job and therefore make more money, and then you would therefore be more wealthy in the long run. However, in today's day and age, with increasing tuition costs constantly, more and more people getting high-level educations, and fewer jobs available for those people as they come out, more and more people end up with more debt than they do income by the time they're young professionals starting out in their career. So I want to be completely upfront and completely transparent with you guys. I was lucky enough growing up that I had both the support of my parents and my grandparents to help me pay for my tuition during both my bachelor's degree in biology at McGill University, as well as my master's degree at the University of New Brunswick in St. John. Now, being a Canadian, as well as doing my entire bachelor's degree at home, definitely made it so that the costs that I would have incurred during my undergraduate degree were much less, basically consisting of only my tuition. And so the true price tag of my tuition for my 3-year bachelor's degree in Quebec was probably between $10,000 and $12,000. My master's degree, however, was a little bit different. I did it in a different province, so I moved away from home for the first time, and I was living on my own in an apartment. However, again, it was basically only tuition fees because my master's was actually funded. So I got paid a certain amount of money, about $19,000 a year, that would actually cover most of my living expenses as well as whatever tuition my parents wouldn't cover. So overall, tuition-wise, you're looking at about $14,000 for the entire thing. So that's a 2-year program, and that was kind of completely covered by both myself, my parents, and the funding for my project. So I was super lucky. Immediately after my degree, I was all ready to go for a 4 to 5 month internship at a research institute in the Bahamas. However, I was offered a teaching contract at the University of New Brunswick in St. John, where I got to teach an introduction to environmental biology class, as well as offered a research assistant position alongside one of my examining committee members in stable isotope research. So I was going to go on more of a work-related vacation, but instead I decided to go with the smart decision, which was take the 2 paid contracts and see where we go from there. However, both of these contracts were for 4 and 6 months respectively. So that's not a whole lot of time, and neither of them paid me a whole lot of money at once. When both of these jobs overlapped for about a 2.5 month period, I was making great money. However, when it was only one or the other, I was pretty much living on the bare minimum. So the breakdown was, in the months where both of the jobs overlapped, I was actually probably making about $2,700 a month, which is quite a bit. But keep in mind that this was only for like a 3-month period. On either side of that, I was making between $1,200 and $1,500 a month. Now you can imagine living in an apartment on my own at the time. A lot of that money was going to rent. I was also driving about 500 kilometers a week when I was doing both those jobs at the same time. And so living this way actually taught me super valuable lessons and the absolute importance of not only budgeting and tracking your finances, but planning for the future and making sure that I had enough money during those super gracious months to cover me over the months that were a little bit tighter. As that second contract, 6-month contract, came to an end, I was lucky enough to be able to jump in and fill in for a position with the commercial lab that I was working with, who just happened to have an opening at the exact same time, and I managed to pick up a 2-year contract with them, which is where I am now. So I guess the big question that everyone kind of wants to know, coming out with 2 academic degrees in science from 2 very prestigious universities, at least here in Canada, what kind of income am I bringing in now? Now, I do want to say that I could probably go out and find a better paying job if one were to be available, but right now my circumstances are so that I want to stay where I am, and I'm very happy with the job that I have, but I'm only bringing in about $37,000 a year. Now, that is twice as much as I was making as a master's student, which you would think is awesome. However, by the time you deduct taxes, fees, insurance costs, union dues, and the rest of it, I actually am only left with about $2,000 a month, or about $26,000 a year. So yes, I do not make an income that I think a lot of people would associate with someone with my academic achievements or my academic level. However, I do want to say, and I'm very proud to say, that even with this kind of limited income to a certain extent of $26,000 a year after taxes, I do manage to save between 40 and 50% of that every single month, which I'm super, super proud about. And I do that by making some major kind of life changes. I went from living in a 1-bedroom apartment by myself to sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with a roommate and a friend of mine. I limit how often I go out to eat. I eat almost an entirely plant-based whole food diet. Most importantly, I definitely try and live a minimalistic lifestyle. I live a very simplistic, very basic life, and I do the things that I love to do, and I avoid buying things that I find superfluous or unnecessary. I wanted to just kind of show and divulge this information so that you can understand where I'm coming from and determine whether or not you can relate with me, with my story, with my income brackets, and then hopefully, if that's the case, you can take some of the tips and tricks and systems that I'm going to provide through the next couple videos and apply them to your life and hopefully make it a better situation for yourself. I am going to be giving kind of most often 5-step systems that are made to make your day-to-day money management a lot easier, a lot less stressful, and that hopefully help kind of teach you the necessary skills to build a proper financial foundation moving forward in your life. And not only am I going to talk to you about it, but I'm actually going to show you a step-by-step guide of the systems that I use and actually how to implement them one step at a time. So with that, I want to say thank you very much for watching. As always, definitely like and subscribe if you are interested in that content that is still to come. If you are interested in kind of learning more and really getting a handle on your financial situation, especially if you're a student, especially if you're a young professional starting out in your career, or if you're just someone working a minimum wage job trying to make ends meet. If you do have any questions, you can always leave a comment down below. But I'm looking forward to jumping into this mini-series, and I'm looking forward to the conversations. So definitely check in next week, and I'll see you then.